for another video that's not about a camera. Hi guys, today we're taking a look at the Tru Vue and Stereoscopes. I bought this Tru Vue at an antique store for around $10.80. The value on eBay for one of these right now is about $30. You have to be careful on eBay when you buy them because most of them are defective in one way or another. Some are not usable, of course. That would be the worst, and they would be the cheapest. But many of them have broken plastic pieces off of them. The older models were Bakelite. This might be Bakelite or some kind of plastic, but this one in fact works fine. When these were new, they cost $1.98. And when I got it, I was at the antique store. I couldn't resist, but there were no slides with it. So I went on eBay to order some slides. And the only one I could find, or the cheapest one I could find, was this one set of Zorro slides. And this cost me $5.06 for the one slide. And when I got it, everything looked fine. And in the Tru Vue, in the ViewMaster, you put the round reel in. And in the Tru Vue, you put these square things in. Tru Vues were a little different, that's for sure. But at any rate, you insert them in the top like this, and then you advance it with this little lever to look at the images. And when I first got it, like I said, everything looked fine. And when I got to about the third or fourth image, the left transparency was missing. It was blank. I thought, what the heck? And I looked and it had fallen out. So I took the cardboard apart to fix it, and I found a little missing slide. And when I went to put it in, another one fell out and another one fell out. Eventually I had 3 of them that were completely loose. So I repositioned all of them, put a spot of glue in them, and repaired it to my satisfaction. Now the only personal significance to this is, as a kid, I had a ViewMaster. I think everybody did. But I never heard of Tru Vue before. Now Tru Vue, the company was formed in 1932, and they were in existence until 1951. From 1932 to 1969, there were also Tru Vue products available because Tru Vue was founded as a division of Rock Island Bridge and Iron Works in Rock Island, Illinois. ViewMaster bought them out in 51, mostly because Tru Vue had the exclusive contract with Disney to make children's film strips based on Disney characters. So that's how we have the Zorro slide. And ViewMaster wanted that and couldn't get it until they bought out Tru Vue. So when they bought out Tru Vue in 1951, they kept making the Tru Vue viewers until '69, but they also made ViewMasters in parallel. So both of them were available with the same sets of slides for a while. Now the original Tru Vues were different than this. This was the later models. The original ones used 35mm film, and they had a slot on the left and on the right, and you fed it through, and it was a spool, and you would just pull it through for the pairs of stereo slides. It was a pretty neat system. These particular card slides, which came later, are 13 by 14mm. Now, if it was a ViewMaster, they would have been 10.5 by 11mm. So in fact, these are slightly larger slides. So you would think it would be slightly better quality. But in fact, the film that Tru Vue used was not as good as the Kodachrome that ViewMaster used, so these did not age well, especially the old film strips. So then, while I was at the antique store, I found one of these. This is a stereoscope, and this cost me $36. Now, I've watched these for years in the antique stores, and typically they're $100 or more. On eBay, they're typically $100 or more. But you have to be real careful when you buy them because most of them on eBay, if they're around the $100 range or less, they're probably damaged. And by damage, I mean that frequently this piece will be completely missing, or these little brass assembly on the bottom, which keeps the tension on it so that it stays on, might be missing. These wire frames that hold the views are sometimes missing. And of course, inside the viewfinder, there are 2 optical pieces They're really just the equivalent of the reader glasses you would buy at the drugstore for $5. If you took a pair of reader glasses, took them apart, and mounted them in a frame, you could build one of these on your own. I've always wanted one of these, but at the price of $100, I wasn't willing to get one. I figured, what am I going to do with it? Just put it on the shelf? But also, the neat thing about having one now is I have a real chance to create my own stereo pictures for the first time. Now, this particular kind of a stereoscope is actually called the Holmes-Style stereoscope, and that was because it was designed by Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr., not Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr. Jr. was a Supreme Court justice, but his father was a poet and a physician. And one of the historical significances of Oliver Wendell Holmes Sr. was he wrote the poem called Old Ironsides. And that was published in a newspaper in the Boston area, if not in Boston, when they were thinking of scrapping the USS Constitution. It was going to be decommissioned and scrapped. And after the poem came out, there was such an outrage that the Constitution would be scrapped that eventually they kept it alive. And it's still in commission today. There are still U.S. Navy sailors on board who are in the Navy, on duty, assigned to the Constitution. So thanks to Oliver Wendell Holmes' poem, he saved the day. When he created this design, he purposely did not patent the product because he wanted the product to be available to as many people as possible. And you could easily build one of these, but if you look around, you'll be able to find one. Now, because I had it, I thought I'll have to create some images. So I went out taking pictures, and I used various cameras. Well, I shouldn't say various. I used my iPhone, and I also used my good Fuji X-H2. And I took some of these slides, we'll call them slides, and I did square images and printed them on photo quality paper. And then I also took another piece of photo quality paper and used rubber cement to glue the two pieces together. You see how this one is not, that's actually two of them. So this is twice as thick as it normally would be because there's another piece of photo quality paper with rubber cement holding it. Otherwise they would warp. So if you put them back to back, they stay straight. At any rate, so you can take these and mount them. And when you look through it, this is your focus mechanism, but really you're positioning it so that this center part that separates the two pictures shows the full frame on each side. And you have stereo views. Pretty cool. Now, to view these pictures and have a stereo effect, I have to jiggle between two pictures like this one and this one. And I'll do it fast, and if you use your imagination, you should be okay. Now, these are the raw photos before I did any alignment of them, and you'll see where in these last photos where alignment would have been and was helpful. And then after I took a whole bunch of these pictures and took them for show and tell to our local camera club, then I thought, you know, what about those pictures that people use the colored glasses for in the movie theater? And so I bought some colored glasses on eBay. I don't know, a couple of bucks I recall. And I also bought a pack of red and blue glasses to pass around for show and tell at our local camera club. And I took those same images that I used for the stereoscope and I made anaglyphs. And anaglyphs are the magic way of turning a 3D image into a stereo image, or a 3D where you can see depth. Now, anaglyphs were invented in 1853 by a fellow in Poland, and he demonstrated them. It was the first color stereoscope. In 1858, they were demonstrated to the French Academy of Science by another fellow, where they demonstrated the first projected 3D image. And again, the audience would have to wear red and, well, multicolored glasses. Now the rule on the glasses is they have to be complementary colors. And in the first ones, they were using red and green. Now we're using various colors, and red and blue is the most common, but perhaps not the best color combination. In 1891 were the first printed anaglyphs, and 1893 the first public viewing of an anaglyph motion picture. By the 1950s, the term 3D was coined. And in 1953, anaglyphs began appearing in newspapers, magazines, and comic books, so you could get your own cardboard glasses and look at a picture in a magazine and see a 3D image. And I'll put these in the video. If you pause one of them for a long time, then you can use 3D glasses on them. So put your 3D glasses on here. Each slide is 10 seconds long, and if you wiggle your head from side to side, it's even better. Now the interesting thing about anaglyphs is there's a website that has the software you need that'll run on either a Mac or a PC, and you can create these images, and it's called the Stereo Photo Maker Pro, and I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And the last thing I want to show you, the right way to take stereo pictures is with a stereo camera. And this is a Realist. Now I didn't use this camera because I don't want to spend the money on film and developing and fiddling with it. But in general, if you want to take a 3D image, you want the two pictures to be this distance apart. Now that's for viewing an image that's maybe 5 or 10 feet or 15 feet in front of you, and then there's a background quite a ways away. If the image you want to take the picture of in 3D is much further than that, then the distance between the two taking lenses should be further. Otherwise, imagine if you took a picture of a person standing in front of a building, and the building was 300 feet away, taking two pictures like this and projecting them as 3D would have no effect whatsoever. By the same token, if you took a picture of something very close, like this far away, this shift would just be so out of place that it would be impossible to figure out. Your eyes wouldn't work with it. So the distance between these two should actually be proportional to the distance to the near object, the foreground picture, and then of course you want the background to be quite a ways away. Nevertheless, you can do the same thing with your iPhone by just holding it, taking a picture, and then moving it, taking another picture. At that point in time, alignment is a bit of a problem. And another way of doing that is by mounting your camera on a tripod and then using a rail to shift the camera from side to side so that you get a better alignment. I use this hacked up Manfrotto slider. This was part of a panorama head that Manfrotto sold. And I have Manfrotto mounts top and bottom for my tripod. And the nice thing about this is the quick slide on it. We'll move this slide. Maybe it's not so quick. That distance. And that's roughly the distance between the two eyepieces on a stereo camera. So I mounted my Fuji on a tripod, used this slider to take two pictures like that. And that's how I created a few of these images. In either case, even this, if you slide it rapidly and tighten it up, you still have enough slop so that alignment is a bit of a problem. And the good news is that the software, the Stereo Photo Maker Pro, can align images. Now aligning you would think is something you could easily do in Photoshop, but that won't work because in Photoshop, those are two different images. And Photoshop will not do it right, whereas Stereo Photo Maker Pro will do it right. And I'll include some pictures of the menus that you see in Stereo Photo Maker Pro trying to make anaglyphs like this. It's a really complex program. I don't fully understand it, but I did manage to get it to work. People who use it all the time, I'm sure, understand it because it can do a lot more than just these anaglyphs. For instance, the idea of which colors you use, red and blue, or red and something else, or other complementary colors, that can be all allowed for in this program. Here are two views from the software system called Stereo Photo Maker Pro. And as you can see, it's a complex program. It's available on the internet, and there's a free version, and it's good software. Check it out. And I'll leave links to it below. Okay. That's it. I'll leave a lot of links in the program for your further information. A particular note is if you Google and search on how to create ViewMaster slides of your own, there are ways to do it. And I'll link to a couple of websites that do it. But the easiest way is with a website called Image 3D, where for approximately $35, you can buy a brand new viewer, not a ViewMaster because they're making their own, but it's the same as a ViewMaster, and one reel for about $35. Once you have the viewer, it's $27 for one reel, which seems expensive, but when you try to do it yourself, it's not cheap. So thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.